Viewers and subscribers, welcome back to Beating the Press podcast. I am your host, Rafa. Now, coming up in this evening's podcast, we'll be reviewing the EPL action that took place over the weekend. Arsenal coming up with a late win. And of course, Liverpool going down to Crystal Palace. Now, joining me this evening to review these matches and to talk some EPL football, we have returning to the podcast, Christoph.
Good to be back, yes.
Yes, indeed, Christoph. How was the weekend? Mine was definitely a disappointment. How was yours?
Um, Positives and negatives. Interesting to see the poor officiating rearing its head this weekend. A lot.
Indeed, yeah, definitely. I must say, this weekend was one of many poor decisions, in my opinion. Some very controversial, and of course, some costing teams points in the process. But where to start, Christoph? Where can we start? I'm gonna allow you to kick things off this evening. Where do you want to start?
Let's start at Liverpool versus Crystal Palace.
Liverpool going down to Crystal Palace. The battle of the two unbeaten team, only one stands tall, and that team is Crystal Palace. Liverpool going down, what, 2 goals to 1? And it could have been far worse, in my opinion. I think it was a deserved win for Crystal Palace, and the Liverpool defensive fragilities rear their ugly heads again. And this time around, Crystal Palace really made them pay the debt at that with no time to really respond. But give us your take, Christoph. What did you see in that game? Is this the hallmark of champions, or are we seeing now Arsenal rising to the top?
What do you mean? Is this the hallmark of champions? I
Well,
don't
I mean,
understand.
going down to Crystal Palace, poor
Hmm.
defensive display. I mean, if not for Allison, the scoreline could have read 5-1, 5-2, somewhere along those lines. I mean, Allison in the first half came up with 3, 4, you could say world-class saves to keep Liverpool in the game. A couple of one-on-ones and a couple other clear-cut opportunities where Allison had to dig deep in his bag of tricks to pull out a number of saves. So, as I said, fair play to Crystal Palace. They definitely deserve to win on the quality of the chances they created, and of course, on the quality of the goals they scored as well. I mean, that man, former Arsenal player, Nketiah, Christoph, one of your favorite footballers, if I do recall myself, he
You're
placed that final nail in the
recalling
Liverpool coffin.
incorrectly. Recalling incorrectly, I thought he was a useful player, but was never going to lead the Arsenal line full time. But yeah, it should have been 2-0 if not for VAR making a questionable decision not to call the handball that Salah did. While. I don't know what they were looking at. I don't know how many times they look at it, but I don't know. Even in real time, you could see that that was a handball. While, and then to egregiously add 7 minutes of extra time. I assume that Liverpool has dug deep and offered some money to the PGM goal because there's no way decisions like that could have happened unless some money was changing hands. Incorrect decision on the handball. It was a clear and obvious handball. No review was needed, but it review because a goal was scored. Fine.
Right, right.
Clear and obvious handball. The goal should have been ruled out. Second of all, since Liverpool is now equalized for some strange reason, 7 minutes of added time. Where? From where? Where did this 7 minutes of added time come from? Only for it to backfire and Liverpool to lose with one of the very last kick
Indeed,
of the game.
indeed, indeed, indeed. Yeah, definitely a disappointing end to that game for Liverpool. I mean, it was a disappointing game in its entirety. For me personally, having started watching that game, at times I had to turn off the television set. It was just horrific seeing the way Liverpool was defending. And, Crystal Palace, as I said, they put up a really good defensive display. They came with a game plan to really soak up pressure and play on that counterattack, and they did that to extreme efficiency. And as I said, if not for poor finishing and quality goalkeeping, then the score line would have been far different. It's now up to Slot to really find the right winning formula. At this point in time, I think he is still juggling between personnels as to finding the right balance between attack and defense. And we're seeing that popping up in terms of the goals Liverpool have been conceding over the period. So it's interesting
It's
times ahead. Their next game is versus Chelsea. And of course, after that round of fixtures, we go on an international break. So of course, teams will be hoping to end this period going into the international break, of course, on a winning note. So disappointing. Title race is back on. Not that it was ever off, but at least the points differential is much closer now since Liverpool have lost their first game of the season. And this is a good way to segue to that game over there at Newcastle, Christoph. Uh, Arsenal coming up with the win in that one. Another late goal deciding that game also, Christoph. And we saw a few horrendous refereeing decisions. This time
absolutely
around, it was in favor of
horrendous.
Arsenal. I mean, clearly, that should have been
What?
a handball on Gabriel.
Which one?
Clearly, that should have been a handball on
What?
Gabriel. That
Yeah,
late.
I don't know what you're referring to. No, I really don't know. This is not like, what are you
Handball on
talking about?
Gabriel. Ilanga, the shot from Ilanga. Gabriel sliding in, raising his hands.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
No, no, no,
that
no.
decision.
No, not handball.
How is
When
that
you
not a handball when you're calling
because
the Salah a handball?
when you are Salah is not a handball. Salah went up. You don't go up to catch the ball with your hand. You go up to hit the ball. See the
Well,
difference?
what if you're thrown off balance
You,
and you
you,
frail in the air to catch your balance?
your arms come right here to your side to catch your balance. All right.
So you're saying the Gabriel sliding in and raising his
No,
hand wasn't
because no, that when you're sliding, that is the natural position of your arm when you're sliding.
to raise your hand?
You're right. Do it.
I think that decision
Slide
is
and
quite questionable.
slide and show me. Slide and show me. That is your
That's a
not
quite questionable decision. But I mean, we're not going to
when you
dwell on that.
slide. That is the
How
natural
was the
position
game
of
in
your
and
arm.
of itself? I mean, apart from that decision, how was the game? How did you find it? Was that the right Arsenal 11, for example?
The starting 11.
Right.
Um, no, I don't think so. But it could also be down to the fact that obviously a man like Odegaard was injured and was on the bench. I think, however, Arteta might be onto something with the substitution. So over a number of years, we've seen teams playing double pivots and double defensive midfielder. I think the solution for Arsenal is to go with double tens instead, and use one defensive midfielder. I think against a team that is probably have a weaker midfield than yours for Arsenal, then we would probably go with a Declan Rice, Eze, and a Odegaard in the midfield. But I think that game to me, Newcastle, in my opinion, they obviously came to they weren't really high pressing, but they were playing very aggressively, and they did get away with a lot of off the ball fouls for some strange reason. The referee didn't call any. The VAR ruling out a penalty, which I don't know how you look at that and say it was not a penalty, right? For the week before, Sanchez got a red card for something very similar. So I don't understand how that was not a penalty.
Oh, well, the difference is, as far as I saw, Pope in the Arsenal game got a slight touch on the ball if you look closely. In
Sanchez
the
also
Chelsea
touched the ball.
game,
No, Sanchez touched the ball.
well,
Sanchez touched the ball. So I
we,
don't understand
we have
how
to, well, it might be inconsistencies with the refereeing decision then, if
last
that is in fact
weekend
the case.
that was a straight red.
Mm,
This weekend is not a penalty.
right.
Question mark.
So
Very.
inconsistencies from the officiating then.
I don't think it was inconsistent. I think it was malicious. Because when you listen to the VAR, the referee said penalty. The
Right?
VAR ruled it out. How?
Oh, but
The
didn't the referee
referee,
went to look at the monitor?
the referee did not make the decision from the manager. The VAR told him to rule it out.
Yeah, but he went and looked at the monitor.
Yeah, so the referee went and looked at the monitor and saw that and decided, and did the referee did not decide that it was not a penalty. The VAR told him it was not a penalty after
So
watching it
why
a number
send
of
him to the
times.
monitor then?
I don't know. To-
We have to beg to differ on that one. We are not going to dwell on these decisions. At the end of the day, wrong or right, the result is what it is. And Newcastle
no,
losing,
no, no, no,
but it's not
no.
going to change anything. Whether
Fine.
the
The
ref
result,
is wrong or
fine,
right,
fine,
it's not going
fine.
to change the decision,
The
the
result is
result.
not going to change. But if the decision is affecting the outcome of the game, it's
Yeah,
a
but what can
problem.
we do? There's nothing we can do as fans, as
We
spectators. The officiating is what it is.
no,
It's poor. I agree with you.
the
It's
officiating cannot stand.
inconsistent. I agree with you as well. But what do we do? Do we abandon games? What do we do? What's the solution?
Uh, that is a potential solution.
Well, we move. Again, we can agree that definitely the refereeing decisions questionable in all honesty. And it wasn't just that game or even the Liverpool game. To me, it was right across the board this week. A number of decisions you could say were either given incorrectly or decisions were not called. So it's not just one or two games. To me, it's right across the board. And that's definitely something to keep an eye on. I don't know if it was just a case of this week, all the decision coming in this week, but generally, this is the first time I can recall so many controversial decisions within a single game week. But I mean, at the end of the day, I thought Newcastle put on a fairly good, decent performance. Again, they came up on the wrong end. I thought they played well versus Liverpool. Then they welcome Barcelona in the Champions League. I thought they played excellently versus Barcelona. Good game plan as well. But again, coming up losers. And again, in this game versus Arsenal, the setup, excellent. You could see that they prepared well for this game. Eddie Howe really managing the team well. But again coming up short. And Newcastle just seemed to play well, but then at the end of the day, coming up the losers. And this was another classic case of that happening. But
I
kudos to
think
Arsenal, they stuck to it, got another goal from a set piece as they usually do, and they got the 3 points that they went to Newcastle for.
kudos to Arsenal for coming back into the game and winning, and for Mikel Arteta for making positive changes. Dropping the defensive midfielder, bringing on an attacking midfielder. Definitely, I think, however. What kind of killed Newcastle was Eddie Howe taking off his best attacking players too early, then setting up to defend out the lead. I think taking out of Walter Mead and Anthony Gordon were big mistakes because after that you only had Ilanga as an attacking threat. Um, if Arsenal wanted, you stick the two centre backs on him, and Newcastle was not able to do anything after that. So, um, and
Oh well,
essentially Arsenal's first
it's a
goal
similar
was
flaw then in terms of Pep going to defensive too early as well.
yeah, definitely. That was a mistake. Taking off Haaland way too early. And it's um it's a pet mistake that we've seen over the years. If you go roll back the years to Arsenal versus Barcelona Champions League, where Arsenal won 2-1 at the Emirates, Pep Guardiola withdrew David Villa like 65th minute, then had no centre forward, right? Added a
I see.
midfielder, no centre forward, only for Arsenal to bring on Walcott and Arshavin and getting the goals. I think Van Persie scored first, beating Valdez at the near post. Then for Walcott to go down the right flank and cut it back to Arshavin.
Mm. Those are the glory years of Arsenal. You reliving the history there, Christoph, for our
Ah,
older
that was not the
subscribers
glory
and
years.
viewers. The real golden years of Arsenal. Long gone are those days, Christoph. Long gone are those days. But again, Arsenal still failing to lift that Champions League title, Christoph. Is this year the year for Arsenal to break that curse? A team that has played so much in the EPL, yet to lift a European Champions League. Is this the year that curse is broken?
I don't know.
Not much confidence there then.
Too early to say.
Too early to say is the call.
I mean, I expect them to finish the top eight in the the league stage and then move on to the next round. But you don't know how difficult the opposition will be going into those other rounds.
Indeed, indeed. I
So
mean, it's the
it's
creme de
too
la
early to
creme
say.
of European team. So anything is possible, really. I mean, you might have favorites on paper, but at the end of the day, the game has to be played, and this is the real test of test. You may dominate in your own domestic league, but the Champions League is really the big test that every team in Europe look forward to and look forward to winning. Of course, PSG, the defending champions, and they are pretty much returning with, you could easily say, the same team in terms of that first 11. So they are definitely a big threat as well. But time will tell as we roll back into Champions League action coming up midweek. But other games, Christoph, that caught my attention is, of course, that game over there, Brentford taking care of business versus Manchester United. What can we say about that game, Christoph? I mean, you called it. You definitely called a Brentford win in that game. So spot on with your predictions. But did you expect it to be that easy for Brentford?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
I tell you what, the goals, especially the first goal, I thought was really brilliant from
Oh, that Isadora strike.
right to get it under control like that and then just finish. I thought was really good. I think it was what he made, but one bounce, two bounce, shot, brilliant, brilliant goal. I think they were checking that for offside, but that was very good.
Yeah, I mean,
Very
he
good, very brilliant
definitely
strike.
was onside. Of course, you're gonna check. Once there's a goal, then there's an offside check or a check to make sure the goal is legit. But yeah, he beat that offside trap to perfection. And that was the tactic of Brentford throughout that game. Long ball over the top for the forwards to run onto, and it worked to
If
perfection versus
well,
this Manchester United team.
I mean, we don't see it a lot anymore, and people used to, what do you say, um, despise it or whatever. But I don't understand why it's not used more. If you're playing a high
Yeah, I mean, it's
line,
the
play it
old
long.
English style, Christoph, the
Right.
old English long ball, quote and unquote, up to
Yeah.
your number nine, and he either holds it up or get a strike on
I
goal.
mean, you don't really have to hoof it to your nine, 'cause you used to have really really pacey wingers and so on. But I don't know why more teams don't deploy it. If you're playing against a high line, you hoof it over the top.
Well, I'm not even
Either the high,
classifying it as a
e-
hoof, to be
no,
honest.
I
These
don't I
were,
don't really class it as a
yeah,
hoof,
these were
but
quality
it was a quality pass.
crosses or passes with a bit of backspin on it. So the
Right.
ball will hold up. So it's not even a hoof. These were deliberately played balls over the top, the likes of Jordan Henderson with those long diagonals. He actually set up that first goal to Isadore. So these are calculated passes and not really hoof, so to speak. Hoof suggests kick and hope. But
Right.
these are not really kick and hope. These are strategic runs being made by the center forward and then the ball being released perfectly over the top of the defenders for them to turn and chase. And we saw that on a number of occasions, and especially against slow defenders such as Maguire, who you could say was potentially at fault for that first goal. But I mean, Man U did come back into the game and they even missed a penalty. Well, I wouldn't say, well, miss, yes, but it was down to a quality goalkeeper save. What's your take on the Manchester United chances? I mean,
I mean, Sesko getting
Fernandez is
his
now looking like almost like a penalty liability.
two missed penalties. Well, in a matter of weeks, but I don't necessarily see it as a liability, but it might be a case where you let somebody else take the penalties for
Hey, I
a
mean,
week or two.
Buemo was kicking them for Brentford, so I'm not sure if the coach has the cojones to really take penalties off Fernandez, in all honesty, Christoph. I mean, he seemed fearful of his fellow countryman, in potential fear of losing the dressing room, because that's the only thing really left right now to happen. I mean, his record at Manchester United has been horrendous since his employ, and I'm sure he doesn't want to get on the wrong side of his captain, so to speak. I'm not sure Amarin has the cojones to really manage these high profile players, in all honesty, or getting them upset. You know, I'm not sure what's going on, but the results are definitely not coming, and we have to keep an eye out with any potential sackings taking place. And of course, speaking of sacking, we saw Graham Potter getting sacked, Christoph, and of course, that man
Nuno Espirito
Santos
Santo.
taking over at West Ham, and in his first game versus Everton this afternoon, he came up with a draw. So a positive result there, which otherwise might have been a loss if
I
it was Potter
mean,
leading this team into that game. So
it's definitely positive given the run of play for the majority of that game because had Everton, you could say, been more clinical, or maybe the goalkeeper had a half day, it could have easily have been 5 or 6. The number of chances, clear-cut chances, in my opinion, that were generated. West Ham did start to look dangerous second half around, the 55th minute, and then definitely looked dangerous after that Bowen goal in the 64th minute. That's when they started to look more dangerous. Um, both teams employed a similar attacking tactic, or at least maybe West Ham adapted what Everton was doing in the first half, but Everton seemed to be getting a lot of um, I don't know what to call it. They went a lot of chances being created from the wide areas, going wide, swinging in those crosses. The first goal, I thought it was a really good cross. I thought it was a really good header. I thought the Bowen strike was brilliant, but again, from you
oh
could
well,
say a
that Bowen strike
deflected
did take a big
cross.
deflection.
Yeah, a deflected cross that fall into him, but there was still some work to be done. To be fair, it looked really good. Almost got a double, but yeah, both teams employed similar attacking tactics at the very least. But first half was all Everton. They were watching that game. You would never have thought that West Ham was going to get a goal, to be honest, and until they got that one at the 64th minute. But um, and then I guess the momentum was with them. They went on. They looked like they could have even stolen the win, but it was not to be on the day.
Ah, well, of course, we know that when a new coach comes in, there's usually a bounce to the team, quote and unquote, a new coach bounce. And I saw glimpses, as you said, the goal definitely galvanizes a team and changes the mood. It's good also as a manager to get your first goal in your first game also, so positive signs for West Ham. Do they have the personnel to turn it around? I am a bit suspect of their center half pairings. I thought they were very weak in the ear, to be honest with you. And with it's to me, Christoph, it seems as if the Premier League have somewhat changed this year. To me, there's now a greater emphasis on set plays. There's a greater emphasis on corners, free kicks, and throw-ins. I'm seeing a lot of teams which previous years ago or previous seasons ago were not even looking to employ a long throw routine, now utilizing long throws to good effect. So I'm seeing a shift in the paradigm where there's now a greater emphasis on set pieces. And it's possibly Arsenal who started that revolution. We saw when Arsenal were taking set pieces, even the set piece coach coming into the coach's box. That was the first
Well,
time I was seeing that.
well,
You know,
if you take a look, basically all the Premier League teams have now employed set piece coaches. So
that's what I'm
teams
saying.
have
There's a
seen the
paradigm
success
shift.
that Arsenal has had with those, and then decided, we can probably do that too. So
Indeed, indeed. And I mean, for a number of teams, it's working. And I mean, scoring from them is one, but you also have to learn to defend them. And West Ham is probably the poorest team in the league currently on defending set pieces. And it was through a corner routine that they were undone by that keen header. So defensively, I am concerned for them defensively, especially those centre back pairings. Joof, the left back for West Ham, he seems like a quality player in all honesty. Pacey and has an excellent cross on that left peg, and it was one of his crosses which eventually led to that Bowen goal. But he's been doing it all season since I've been watching this West Ham team in these first 6 games. So I don't think he'll be around very long at West Ham. I think the big boys will go in for him in all honesty.
okay. Speaking of set pieces, if you notice, we saw that same set piece scored 3 times over the weekend.
Oh, you
That's it.
mean the
This
short corner?
the exact same set piece. The not the first. The Newcastle goal was that set piece, played
Right.
shot back cross. The first Arsenal goal, play it short, back to Declan Rice crossing to the box goal, and then again there. So
Mm.
everybody was clearly studying from this year.
Possibly, quite possibly. Because the thing is, with these short corners, it resets the position of the defender. So when that's the what should I say? That's the advantage of going with that short corner. Because after you set up defensively, looking for the direct ball played into the box, the short pass to the other offensive player resets the defense, and that is the moment when attackers may get that slight advantage, which they are taking care of. So it's good to mix things up, and team, as I said, there seem to be a greater emphasis on set pieces these days. So for for our FPL subscribers, that might be something you want to look at. Go for teams or players who are taking set pieces. I mean, the likes of Rice, for example, could give your team a competitive advantage going forward. But again, Christoph, other matches, the other match which stood out to me was Chelsea going down to Brighton, 3 goals to 1. Talk to us about that game. Of course, Chelsea were down to 10 men. And I thought that was a right decision. I thought the referee got it right on that decision. Shaloba being sent off for, you could say, a last man foul. And from there, Brighton took full advantage and came up with three, you could say, late-ish goals. What was your take on that game? Are we now seeing the fragilities of this Chelsea team in not going out and buying quality players, Christoph?
Uh, in a way, yes and no. Chelsea, you could say, I don't know if it's they're doing the business because they do spend a lot of money to bring these players in, but they are recouping that because they are selling them high. Um,
But
Chelsea.
are they bringing in quality players? That is my concern. We see the quantity and the numbers, but are they masking quantity for quality? I'm not seeing many quality recruits. The only quality recruit I've seen is Cole Palmer. The others
So
have been average, I would say.
for
And
Chelsea,
and possibly a Caicedo. I think Caicedo is a good recruit as well.
for Chelsea, I kind of wonder if it's a similar situation with United, where United bring in these players, they don't perform, only for you to then sell them and then they star once they go out. We've kind of seen that with Chelsea with a number of them. I guess Conor Gallagher over there at Atletico. You could say Kai Havertz at Arsenal. Early days, but Madueke looks good. And that seems to be what is happening with Chelsea, at least with the players going out. I don't know. I would have never have thought. I saw Cole Palmer in the FA Cup against Arsenal some years ago, just before Chelsea bought him, and he did score in that game. But from that one match, I didn't know that he would be as good as he is now. So I don't know if it's a case where Chelsea saw something and ended up with a bargain, or it's a case where they're just because they're really just buying these really young players and putting them on 8 year
And you're
contracts.
saying you just buy like 100 players and
And
hope
then
that one or two of them stick.
right. So I don't know if that is the approach that Chelsea is doing.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But they seem very similar to Manchester United, Christoph, except they're getting better results in terms of the rotation of players going in and out. Uh, or is that their model? That could be their model. I'm not sure. I'm seeing players being signed to 7, 8, 9 year contracts. So that could be a model in terms of in order to spread the money over a number of years and get around financial fair play
Fair
and
play.
that sort of thing. FPR, so
I mean, that could be it. I mean, in the past, and I'm sure Chelsea fans will say I'm talking nonsense or rubbish or whatever. In the past, what I have noticed is that Chelsea has gone for a number of targets that rivals had identified and were closing in on, only for Chelsea to then go and hijack these transfers. Eden Hazard was going to be signed by Arsenal, only for Chelsea to run in and then sign that player. Um,
well, a very good signing. It
yeah,
turned out to
excellent,
be.
excellent sign. But that is the case for a lot of the signings that Chelsea has made. They've seen United targeting a player, Liverpool targeting a player, Arsenal targeting a player, and then they go in and hijack these deals.
But
because at the
couldn't it
time,
be that Chelsea was targeting these same players as well? I mean, why would these players sign for Chelsea and not the team that they were initially targeted by?
so at that period of time, Chelsea was, you could say, newly good. Because if you recall, Chelsea didn't win the league until what, '05, when Jose Mourinho there, when they got that Abramovich money. At the time, Chelsea was able to pay higher transfer fees than a Arsenal, than a
Right,
Liverpool, and
right,
offer
right.
far greater wages than a
Correct,
Arsenal and
correct.
Liverpool.
Yeah, but then there was no financial fair play rules in
Right. So
place.
that could have been that I think could have been the major factor back then, because a lot of players would move to Chelsea.
Yeah, but fast forward, let's say for the Modric deal, for example, Christoph.
Right,
Modric was another player hijacked from under the nose of Arsenal, and
right.
probably Arsenal dodged a bullet in that case. So
Oh,
thanks to
Arsenal
Chelsea.
definitely dodged a bullet thanks to Chelsea.
Yeah, but I'm saying, why would Modric sign for Chelsea and not Arsenal? Why would
So
Caicedo sign for Chelsea and not Liverpool?
money.
What's going on there?
I think I think it's money in that instance. For the Modric slightly different. So Arsenal was willing to pay something like 70 million for Modric. Um, I don't remember what team he was playing for. They wanted more. Arsenal said, "Well, we're not going to pay anymore, so take it or leave it." Chelsea came in, offered 100 million, and it went there. So I think that's what
Such
happened.
are these things. But back to this game, though, Christoph, not to dwell on these points, but back to this game. Brighton, kudos to Brighton for taking care of business, of course.
Oh,
Welbeck coming up with
a
a
double,
quality strike as well, a double in that game. The third goal came late on, of course, once Brighton was leading, but
2 goals in stoppage time.
I'm not
No,
sure
it was
if
2 goals in stoppage time. I think, right?
well, the last
Yeah,
goal came right at the
yeah, yeah,
death,
yeah,
but by
yeah. The
by that
last,
time, Brighton was in the lead and pretty much having that game all wrapped up, in all honesty. By
right.
then, Chelsea was down to 10, having conceded two goals as well. I mean, they had gone ahead and taken the lead through a deflected cross, which ends up pretty much headed in almost on the line. But then Brighton stormed the back after, get Chelsea went down to 10. So again, I'm not sure if it's game management from the coach that again did not assist in Chelsea putting up a solid enough defensive fight, in cases like those, players need to roll up their sleeve and really dig deep. So I'm not sure what's going on over there at Chelsea. Maraska need to be careful of not going down a very slippery slope and getting himself fired. But Chelsea is definitely a team to keep an eye on. I'm not sure if everything is going according to plan over there. So their next opponent is Liverpool, and both teams are coming off a loss. So that should be a very interesting game, that one taking place over there at Stamford Bridge. But any other interesting storylines for you, Christoph? Who would you say was the player of the week, in your opinion? Who would you say was the player of the week, or the standout player of the week?
Standout player.
Yeah, yeah, or no one really stood above and beyond for you. I mean, Haaland did get a double versus a Burnley team over there, which Man City ran away big winners. Of course, Sarr, I thought played excellently versus Liverpool as well. So there were a number of standout performances. I mean, Isadore from Brentford coming up with two big goals, I would say. I would give it to Isadore, to be honest with you, as my star player of the week. I'm gonna give it to the Brentford striker, Isadore, for that double versus Manchester United.
I don't know. Playing well against Manchester United is not necessarily an indicator of quality.
Well, I mean, it might not be an
He did
indicator, but it was a
he
quality strike.
oh,
When you look at the
definitely
quality
quality
of the
strike,
goal, I mean, against
really
any
good.
team, that's a goal. If you're
No,
hitting the ball, striking the ball like that.
definitely. I just don't know. I mean, a number of other players, strikers, scored doubles, so I'm
So
not
no one
sure.
stood out for you then, is what you're saying.
I don't think so. No, I don't. I'm thinking
All
about it,
right,
but
next week, think
nobody
about it.
really.
Think about it for next week, and come with your standout player of the week. All right, so who would you say is team of the week then? Which team gave the best performance in their matchup, you would say? If you can't come up with a player of the week. For me, it has to be Crystal Palace.
I
So
was yeah,
I'm giving Crystal Palace the team of the week.
is either Crystal Palace or Brighton, I think.
I would give it to Crystal Palace, hands down. Because at least Brighton was aided by Chelsea going down to 10 men.
But I could also say Aston Villa, getting their first win.
But I mean, if you look at that game, it wasn't really a dominant performance in all honesty. I mean, yeah, they did win the game 3-1, but Fulham did have their sheer number of chances in all honesty. So kudos to Aston Villa for getting their first win under their belt. Ollie Watkins getting off the mark as well. Good goal. He scored a long ball over the top, being misjudged by the defender Anderson, and then he lobbed the keeper. So a good quality strike. But for me, I can only give my opinion. You can give your team. For me, my team of the round, Crystal Palace, and my player of the round, Isadore, the Brentford striker. So you're saying your team is Brighton?
No, it's Crystal. I said Crystal Palace or Brighton. I think Crystal Palace probably did better. Um, I mean, in my opinion, I think they really won that game 2-0, and VAR tried to rob them. In my opinion, Liverpool did not deserve anything from that game.
So we definitely agreed on that earlier. But yeah, that would be my team of the round. But any final thoughts, Christoph? Any final thoughts as it relates to this weekend of football action? What's your
Um,
final thought?
I think the big thing is there needs to be some sort of inquiry into the poor officiating over the weekend, whether the clubs need to initiate this and inquire what happened, why were there so many bad decisions, or the FA needs to step up and publicly inquire what happened. There needs to be answers for what has transpired over the weekend.
Indeed, indeed. Interesting thoughts for sure. We'll be hearing more on those referring decisions. But of course, viewers and subscribers, Champions League action coming up this week. Tuesday and Wednesday, some big teams are in action. Liverpool travel to Turkey. Over there, they will take on Galatasaray, the Turkish giants. And that should be one of the more high-profile games of the Champions League round. Christoph, who does Arsenal take on in the Champions League coming up?
Who does Arsenal play?
Yeah, who does Arsenal play? Or you're not sure? You're not on the ball with your team, man. I
Is
thought these things would be
hold on.
fresh in your mind.
Is a Italian team, man. I just
All right, we move. We move. We are
Olympiacos, not Italian,
Olympiacos.
Greek.
Olympiacos is not Italian, Christoph.
No,
Those
I
are
just
the
said that. Yeah,
Greek
not Italian,
champions.
Greek
The Greek standouts over there. So is this a home or away game?
home game.
Home game. So this should be a banker for Arsenal, all things being equal. But viewers and subscribers, thank you again for tuning in to us here on Beating the Press podcast. Christoph, thank you for coming on board and really sharing your thoughts and your opinions. Viewers, subscribers, continue to support us by leaving your comments in the comment section. Should Amarin be sacked? Is the question. And who was your team of the week? Tell us who your team of the week was. But until next time, this is Rafa signing off.